Welcome back, everybody. It is the Walkthrough Game Day show. It is the next to last Walkthrough Game Day show of the season. We're going to talk about the conference football championships at the end of the show, or the DVM pick'ems, and then we're going to have one more show next week, further detailing any other WVU news. Plus, we're going to talk about the New Year's Six games that are going to be released by that time. So this week, we're going to spend a little bit of our time on that, plus the WVU season recap of 2022. The Mountaineers finished 5-7, 3-6 in the Big 12, and that's a ninth place finish, by the way, Gene, for West Virginia. So they did end their season on the right foot, though, supposedly. They went out and beat Oklahoma State 24-19, and as we talked about it in the postgame show last Saturday, even though it wasn't, the most sexy way to win a game, right? It was at least impressive to see that the effort and the buy-in was still there from the players, from the coaching staff. And I think that might be part of a reason why Neil Brown will be back in 2023 under the new AD, which we'll talk about on Between the Ears. So I guess before we get into the season recap, just kind of expand on your thoughts from the season finale, what you saw.
Well, I was impressed, again, with the effort. Because I always say this, man, effort is personal. It's between you and you. So when you put forth that type of individual effort, that's the key to any good thing that's going to happen. I don't care if you're talking sports, business, life in general. If you put forth effort, good things usually happen. So I was glad to see that. They played the way they were supposed to play. The seniors went out the right way, which I was very happy with a victory on the road, tough environment. Usually, look, we come out on the other end of that usually. So it was good to see WVU get a win. And me personally, I felt it was a much needed win because of all the things going on. You had to win that game, and they did. So I was really proud of the way they played.
Yeah, so 5-7, they finished the year. Don't get to go to a bowl game. This is the third losing season in 4 years for Neil Brown. Fortunately for him, the early indications are that he will be back in 2023 under the new AD, Ren Baker's coming over from North Texas. So I guess going into the season recap, you said coming into the season, the West Virginia Mountaineers were going to win how many games, Gene? How many games?
I think I said we were going to go 10-2. That's what I said, correct?
Yes, you did say 10-2. I said, I believe 7-5. And technically, if you go back and you look at some of those games that happened earlier in the year, like the Pitt game where just the crazy fluke play that happens where the ball just goes right off of Bryce Ford Wheaton return for a pick six, that doesn't happen, they probably win that game. Or if they go for fourth and that much, they maybe win that game.
Yes.
And then the next week, they get Kansas into overtime, and there's a late hit on the quarterback, and that ends up allowing Kansas to win the game. So there's just those two kind of fluky type moments really kind of change the outlook, I think, of the season. Now, of course, they didn't finish the year the way they wanted to. They got blown out at Texas Tech. They got blown out at Texas. They've got beat down handily at Iowa State. Those three outings were not very impressive at all. I think we can all agree with that. But if you go back to those first two games, had they won those two, does that change your perception at all, or is it still that big of a disappointment?
No, I think, listen, it's hard to win at this level. I don't care who you're playing against, to be quite frank. It's just hard to win week in and week out. Now, obviously there are teams that do that. I'm looking and hoping that we get back to that stage where we can do that. But you win those two games that are questionable games, I think it does change the whole trajectory of the season. I think it changes the attitude of the season because I think you win those two games and the fan base would have reacted a little bit differently, to be honest with you. Because you don't know what would have happened. Right. You don't know what would have happened had you won those two games for the rest of the season moving forward. So, it's tough sleddings, man. First off, to be completely forthright, when you look at how West Virginia played after those two losses, I think that had more to do with why the fans was upset because there were certain games we just did not look prepared after those two losses. So I think, again, it's you go out and compete and you bust your hump and the effort is 1,000% and you still lose tough games and tight games. People, I think, can digest that a little bit more than you coming out and you don't look prepared and you get blown off the field, because then you're looking at the product that's being put on the field versus anything else. And if that don't look good, fans are going to be upset.
Yeah. And I think,
look, and me too.
of course. I mean, again, if they win even just one of those games, they're going bowling.
Sure,
that completely changes. I mean, I know it's just one game, but that changes the mindset of people of, oh, we didn't go bowling again, or they didn't have another losing season. If they win both those games, go to a bowl game, win the bowl game, you're talking an 8-win season. I mean, I know this is a lot of hypotheticals and a lot of things that didn't happen, but
right.
It's how much longer again does this? I guess we'll get this. We got probably more into this on Between the Ears, but the team seems like there's so many things that they're close on, right? Like they're close to being there completely offensively at times, and at times they're close to being there defensively, and sometimes they're there in terms of just the outcome of the game, but a couple of bad things happen that doesn't go their way, and then they end up on the wrong side of things. How long can that happen or continue to happen before change is needed?
Well, think about it this way. I I don't think with a new AD coming in and with him reviewing everything up to this point,
yeah,
I really think that Neil Brown will be on a very, very short leash, because you would have to be, if I'm going to come in and I'm the new guy and I'm looking over everything and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, okay, 4 years, 3 losing seasons, 4, yeah, okay. Let me see what this guy has. I like what he's saying. He's a high character guy. He's a program builder in terms of doing it the right way with the student athletes, high graduation rate, kids don't get in trouble off the field, they're community-based young people. Okay, cool. All that he checks all those boxes. Now, it's my new tenure here. I'm starting my tenure here. We're going to have to check this wins and losses box.
Yeah.
More wins and losses. And that's going to have to happen rather quickly, because if it don't, you don't want to be the new AD sitting in that seat after week 4 and you're 1-3.
Yeah, because then you got your own questions to answer.
Okay. Absolutely.
So, in terms of how the actual season played out outside of the wins and losses, I kind of want to dive a little deeper into this. Let's start with the offense first. JT Daniels comes in. He's the shiny 5-star transfer from Georgia. Was one of the top-rated recruits coming out of high school from Matterdye High School, went to USC at first. We knew about the injury history. Right. For some reason, it seemed like we saw a completely different JT Daniels from about the midpoint season on. I think those first 5-6 games, he looked like, as what everyone thought he was going to be. He's as good as advertised. And then for whatever reason, it just went downhill. We talked a little bit about it, Zach and I, on the show a couple of weeks ago. And to me, it was more, at first, it was more of a mechanical thing. I thought his shoulders, hips, feet weren't all married together. And as you know, playing football as a quarterback, you have to have all those things going in the same motion at the same time and where they're supposed to be at the same time, or else if not, you're going to have open hips, open shoulder, you're going to leave balls high and dry. Like it can be a mess. To me, I think initially it was mechanically.
Tell that to Patrick Mahomes, but go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, well, he may have a little bit more special talent. Let's just say that dude's
I'm sorry. I digress.
But yeah, I think it was mechanical at first, and then I think it kind of seeped over into the mental part of it. Is that how you kind of saw it unfold, or did you see it differently?
Mechanics is definitely an issue. I don't think it was the major issue. I think he was hurt and didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people were thinking of that at the time.
I think he struggled through some injuries, got beat up a little bit, and because him knowing and conscious of, his prior injury history, he probably didn't say or divulge too much information to even the staff, medical staff, indoor coaching staff. And I think he tried to go out there and play to the best of his ability through injuries. That's what I think. Yeah. And then that kind of opened the door to bad posture, bad form. Everything is not in alignment, because let me tell you something. If you're hurting, everything goes out the window because you're overcompensating for wherever that injury is.
Yeah.
especially if it's lower body for a quarterback, because you put all your torque into your lower body when you're throwing the football, and your feet, your hips, like you said, have to be aligned. Anything that throws off that rhythm in throwing the ball, you're going to wind up looking not as good as you should, and definitely not on target as you should be. Because the first few games, like I said, listen, man, he was as good as advertised.
Oh yeah. I mean, he definitely looked like somebody that could be an NFL draft pick at some point. Maybe not first round or anything, but certainly capable of playing at the next level. Now, we don't know what his future holds. He still has another year of eligibility if he wants to use it, but we did get a sneak peek of Garrett Green. I know you like this guy. You've been a big fan of him since he committed. We talked to him when he signed a couple of years back. Is he the future of this program? And if not, who do you think can be?
Okay, two things. Well, a few things with that. First, I'll run through it rather quickly. In this day and age of college football, you look at the major programs, and what is the singular common thing that they all have? Dual threat, baby, dual threat. So, if we're going to get back to the promised land, West Virginia has always been good when we've had what at quarterback? Dual threat. Okay, so with that being said, Mr. Green checks that box. His ability to extend the play with his legs checks that box. His ability to look downfield while he's extending the play with his legs, we have to develop that.
Yeah, exactly.
His ability to be more precise when he's reading defenses from left to right and from right to left, depending on where your tight end is or depending on where your H-back is, or whatever they want to call it, we got to check that box. That comes down to coaching and developing. Now, because we got a chance to see what he really is in real life, game time action, crunch time action, he is a baller. You understand? He's a difference maker. He has to be on the field. So that's going to be incumbent upon quarterback coach, OC, head coach, to really dive into everything you need to do to get this young man to be the best possible complete quarterback if you are looking for him to take the keys to your Chevrolet.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not going to do all that, he's not the kid that you just let do what he's going to do during the offseason because there's too much football IQ as far as throwing the ball and being that complete QB that he has to be if you're going to give him the keys to your Mercedes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my answer for him. If not him, to be honest with you, I haven't seen enough of what's behind him to, a sample size of Markel. Was that his name?
Markel.
That's the correct. Yeah, I like him too, but it's not enough to really dig your teeth into because he wasn't thrown in there at crunch time.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? That's a different animal when you're in there and you got them wolves hunting. You understand what I'm saying? That's different. And I didn't see Green flinch.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, let's go, let's get it. Like, that's the type of, I like that type of tenacity playing QB for me.
Yeah. Personally. He's got the energy about him, and I think that's something that's very contagious. And as I talked about with Zach a few weeks ago, I think sometimes you almost need that, especially when you're in a bit of a lull as a team. When you're not winning games, you're a little stagnant offensively. You have a guy like that in your huddle, you're gonna want to go a little harder. But
did you see the reaction of his linemen when he would make a play?
Yeah.
Come on, man. When you went over the big boys up front and they know, yo, this dude is going to run through a brick freaking wall for you. Look, he's going to do everything he needs to do to get that first down. That's a different mentality. Like you said, it becomes contagious with everybody when you got that kind of energy playing quarterback.
Now, the running game was phenomenal this year. I mean, they didn't have their leading rusher was Tony Mathis. He had 562 yards, 5 touchdowns. CJ Donaldson, not far behind, played half the season, 526 yards and 8 touchdowns. Justin Johnson had 430 and 3. Jalen Anderson got some run there at the end, had a huge day to end the year against Oklahoma State, busted off 2 50-yard runs. Yes. It seemed like it did not matter who Chad Scott, the running backs coach, threw out there onto the field. They were having success. How
Yep.
much of that was on the line? How much of that was the tailbacks?
I think towards the end of the year, combination, the line got progressively better as the season went on. Period. A lot of that had to do with the comfortability of the backs and what they were seeing and their ability to make things happen after contact, which was pretty good. So I think it's a combination of both. Now, I do like our running back room, but it's hard to do the running back by committee thing. You know, your top two backs, if you got two backs that can tote that thing,
You're in a good company.
you're pretty good. But you got to get the other ones ready to play as well. And as you just reeled off those numbers, apparently we got some good backs, man. We got 3 or 4 good ones in that room. So I like the future of the RB room and where we're going. And I'm sure they're going to go out there and recruit a little bit more because you can never have enough good running backs. I want to see what we do up front.
Yeah.
Because you can't run the ball if you can't block. So, I want to see.
Can't block.
Yeah, I want to see what we do up front, to be honest with you. I really want to see how our offensive line comes together during the offseason because I'm going to tell you something, Schuyler, that truly is the fundamental piece to everything else you need to do offensively. If your offensive line is not good, it throws a monkey wrench, and it wouldn't matter if I was back there playing quarterback.
Yeah.
You understand? Because I always say the famous line, you can't throw on your back. Right. So I'm curious to see what we do there and how well we progress, up front.
And then quickly over to the defensive side before we get into our DVN pick'ems. It was just it was a year. For whatever reason, it just completely went downhill. It was almost shades of 2013 where nobody could tackle anybody and people were getting chunk yardage here left and right. It didn't matter if it was the ground or through the air. People are quick to jump on defense coordinator Jordan Leslie. And I got to say this, listen, the first year as a full-time defensive coordinator, which was last year for Leslie, he had that unit playing pretty well and very well at times. 2 years ago, when he was the co-defense coordinator with Jamal Adai, they had the top-ranked defense in Power 5 football. Right. So I don't think it's like a coincidence that he had that success. Like, to me, this is more of an anomaly because you'll lose a guy like Akeem Esther. You'll lose a guy like Daryl Porter. You'll lose a guy like Nick Troy Fortune. You lose Josh Chandler Samito. Like, they lost a lot of talent through the portal this past offseason. I get that's on Leslie, and I get that's on Neil Brown to replace that talent, but they weren't able to do that. They had to go and get some guys from the G5 level, the FCS level, and it just didn't work. So, and on top of all that, they had a bunch of injuries, especially in the secondary. So, to me, I don't think that there's going to be a coaching change on the defensive side of the ball in terms of calling the plays. I think Jordan Leslie is going to stay put.
And he should.
Yeah. I mean, he had success before. This was the 1 year where you're going to have a bad year every now and then.
Right. Let's run, as we say, let's run it back, man. Let's run it back and let's see what we got. Because now I'm gonna say this: that means you got to go and get what you need to get to replenish spots, and then coach. Now, if that don't happen, Schuyler.
Yeah.
Just saying.
There might be a lot of people walking out there.
I'm just saying.
So that's going to do it for our season recap. Again, West Virginia goes 5-7 on the year, finishes 9th in the Big 12 Conference, with 3-6 league record. And we're going to go and get now into our DVN pick'ems. It's the next to last week, so I've got to make some ground here. And this is Conference Championship week. Last week, Gene, we both went 2-3, so we canceled each other out. You still got a 2-game lead on me. I actually got Oregon State right. They came all the way back. After being down by 1 million to Oregon, they came all the way back. The only one that you got on me was West Virginia. I went with Oklahoma State. So let's get to it this week. Let's start with Friday night. Pac-12 Championship, 8 o'clock on Fox. Utah at USC. USC's been playing some really good football of late. They look like one of the best teams in the country. But I'm going to go against them. I'm going to go with Kyle Whittingham, the Utes, Cam Rising. Like, I really believe that Utah can not only win this game, again, they won this matchup earlier in the year, but I think they can win this game maybe even by 2 scores. So I'm going with the Utah Utes. I'm going with the coach that can get it done in these situations. That's Whittingham, not Lincoln Riley.
This is the reason why you're trailing me now. Have you not learned anything?
No, I haven't.
Listen, no. Trojans all the way. They got too much to lose. They know where they're sitting right now in the top 4. They want to stay there, and they will stay there. No, I'm sorry. The Trojans.
Going to West Virginia's conference, the Big 12, Kansas State and TCU. TCU wins. They're more than likely into the college football playoff. Kickoff is at noon on ABC. Look, I have been a huge fan of Chris Kleiman ever since he got hired at Kansas State. Thought he was going to do a really good job with that program, and he has. I picked them to get to this game in the preseason on our show. As much as I really want to pick them because I like what's going on there, I just can't pass up what Sonny Dykes and that offense is doing at TCU. They are on a roll right now. Max Duggan is a problem. I've got to go with the Horned Frogs.
No, the Horned Frogs. Listen, I'm a fan. They've made me a fan. I'm serious. I love the way they play football and they get it done. They flat out get after you. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Going to the SEC championship game, LSU and Georgia, 4:00 CBS. Look, earlier in the year, I didn't think LSU was going anywhere. Like it looked like things were going to fall apart fast for Brian Kelly. He had a couple of guys, including the big time receiver, Boyette or whatever, entered the portal. It seemed like they were going to collapse, and he rallied that thing, and they played really good football. Problem is, they're running into a buzzsaw. I don't think there's any way they even keep this game close against Georgia. This matchup has happened 5 times, I believe, over the last 20, 25 years in the SEC title game. Every game has been a decisive blowout, one way or the other. Same thing this time, but I'm going with Ugga.
I was going to tell you right now, if you was not going to, I was going to start barking in here.
You were going to jump through the screen.
Exactly. Georgia all the way.
Big Ten championship, and this was actually a bit of a surprise for me when I was looking at this. I didn't even know Purdue made the Big Ten championship. It shows you what I know. Purdue and Michigan, 8:00 Fox. Yeah, this is too easy. This
okay.
Is way too easy. Michigan,
okay. Stop playing. I was going to say, do we have to say it? Yeah, no.
Probably not.
Michigan will get it done. Listen, good for Purdue. Very happy that they're there. No.
It'll be a quick and unhappy day for them. So,
absolutely.
Going to the ACC, Clemson and North Carolina, 8:00 ABC. I was really back and forth on this one.
So was I.
I wanted to go with Clemson because to me that seems like the most logical pick. But my wife's a Carolina fan.
Mm-hmm.
So through marriage, I guess I got to pull for the Tar Heels. Plus, I mean, I've got to go. I got to go against you on one of these picks, or else I'm not going to have a chance. So I'm going to go with Carolina, roll the dice, and hopefully I'm right.
Well, apparently you don't gamble too well.
You got that right.
I'm with you. I love North Carolina. Don't get me wrong. For those who know, North Carolina was our son's first offer in the 10th grade at St. Peter's Prep. Was the Tar Heels. Went down there 5-6 times. Love the Tar Heels. In this particular game, Clemson has too much moxie and pride. They haven't been playing the way that Clemson plays as of yet. They're going to put together a big one for this particular game right here. And I got to go with Clemson on this. I do like North. I was like you. I was up and down, but because of what Clemson wants to, how they want to prove that, look, we are much better than what we've been playing. No, I think they're going to put it on North Carolina, to be honest with you. So I'm going with Clemson.
So there you have it. We got one more week of DVM Pick'ems left in us that week. Will be next week. We're going to look at the bowl game matchups, probably more so than New Year's Six more than anything else. We'll see what other bowl matchups we get. Maybe we'll throw in 1 or 2 here to make it more interesting. So that's going to do it for the Walkthrough Game Day show today. Eugene, you got one more show with me. Can you get it through this week?
Absolutely.
Next week. Next week.
Absolutely.
So we're going to finish this thing strong. I'm going to come out on top as the DVM Pick'em winner, and we'll see what I'll be bragging about that all off season long. So, anyways, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back on Saturday for the Mountaineers Now post-game show. West Virginia Xavier in the Big East Big 12 Challenge. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys Saturday night.